Look, I have been a big fan of Colby Covington for a very long time. Say what you will. I know it's pretty controversial to say right now, but I've really enjoyed the act that he's put on. I found it very entertaining. Like I say a lot on the channel, where it's something to the extent of I really enjoy the Xbox 360 style trash talk about it, where he just gets as deep and personal as it could possibly be, and he just has that shock value. I've always appreciated that, and I've always appreciated that he really backed up what he said in the cage. But after the Leon Edwards performance and how we are seeing this entire Ian Garry situation unfold, it's very difficult to continue supporting Colby Covington. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about one situation in particular that really made me have a little bit of an issue with Colby. We're going to get into that in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about Colby Covington. So, he has been pretty much the talk. I don't want to say this seems like a boomer thing to say, the talk of the town. Like he's been going a little bit viral for after his interview with Submission Radio just 13 days ago. And sorry guys, I was still getting used to these buttons over here. Just got to make it a little bit less. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, everybody. But he had this interview with Submission Radio, and he was talking about, again, this entire Ian Garry situation, and it's typically like what usually goes on with the Colby Covington interviews over at Submission Radio. He just starts insulting people. He talks about the future. He talked about him having his broken foot and why he didn't have a good performance against Leon Edwards, and you could just tell that Colby Covington, as usual, is kind of just BSing. He's making excuses. He wants the big fights. He wants to fight Bilal now that he's at the top. He wants to fight Charles Oliveira. Probably sees Charles as a little bit of an easier fight, but you get the point. But here's the really big problem that nobody is talking about, okay? So, Colby Covington also went on the Twins Pod. And if you guys don't know anything about the Twins Pod, they spent a lot of time talking about both fighting and politics. The problem with this is the Hodge twins had Colby Covington on, and it was a very, professional discussion. It was very nice. It was very laid back. It's not like the Submission Radio interview, and I don't mean to sit back and say, the Submission Radio guys aren't serious, because it's not, but you guys understand the nature of that show. They come on, they laugh with Colby Covington. Colby Covington starts throwing insults here and there, right? But for this Twins Pod, I listened to the whole thing. I know that it says I'm 7 minutes here, but I did listen to the whole thing, and it was really good. It was really good. But the problem is they were having an honest discussion. They were talking about so much more than just MMA, and Colby Covington still lied to these guys about why he's not fighting Ian Garry. The problem in saying this is he didn't technically lie, because he said he used the whole thing where it's like, oh, well, I put out these stipulations and he's not meeting them. So technically he didn't lie, but you understand what I'm saying. The Hodge twins were asking him about Ian Garry. They were talking. They were having a really good time, man. And Colby was being dishonest to them, even in this part where he's like, hey, you know what? I want to fight this upcoming kid named Ian Garry, but I said, hey, I want to take this. I need to know that you're taking this seriously. I put out these stipulations, and he didn't adhere to them, so the fight's not happening. So now I'm looking for bigger and better things. And we all know that was impossible for Ian Garry to do. The stipulations were ridiculous. Were they funny? 100% they were. They were awesome. But at the end of the day, Colby Covington, this is really where it made me stop and think about, how much I'm really willing to continue to support Colby Covington, because at the end of the day, man, I'm still excited to watch him fight. And I understand that, as we all do, that everything that Colby Covington is doing is just a character. I get that. And that's why I always found him very entertaining. But to sit down in this environment and have an honest discussion with these guys who, honestly, they don't know much about MMA. And I mean that in saying they're not too familiar about what's going on internally within the sport. I'm not saying they don't know anything about fighting. I actually don't know that about them. But they're clearly not so invested in the sport and what the stipulations were. And they were honest about it. And they were like, well, Colby, and of course I'm paraphrasing. I don't know exactly what the reply was. I don't remember. But they were saying something to the extent of oh, well, Colby, if he's not willing to meet the stipulations, he's not willing to meet the stipulations. It's it was just really dishonest coming from Colby Covington. So what I didn't like is the fact, and I'm okay with it, even, I think that it's just, for lack of a better term, he's being a coward. That's the word I'll use. Because obviously the UFC wants to make this Ian Garry fight. I don't believe that Colby Covington never was offered a contract. That's a huge fight to make, and they're looking to push Ian Garry, and it's a big fight for Colby Covington. It makes sense for the division. I believe that this fight was offered. I'm skeptical that Colby is even injured. I think that Colby Covington is scared of Ian Garry, and I think he's ducking Ian Garry. I do, and I understand there's no proof for that, but that's what I do believe. And for a guy to talk this much crap, make videos like he did against Ian Garry, and then just go radio silent, never hear from him again, I don't like that, man. I don't like that. And this is coming from a guy, Colby, I understand it's an act. I get it, okay? I understand that this is not exactly who Colby Covington is as a person, but he's starting to lose me as a fan. And what really made me stop again was the Twins Pod, where these guys are having an honest discussion with him, and he wasn't even in character. He wasn't. He wasn't in character at all. And he's just straight up lying about Ian Gary, where it's like, oh, he didn't meet these stipulations. I didn't like that. I don't like how much crap he's talking right now, and I don't like that he's finally looking for a Bilal Muhammad fight now that Bilal Muhammad is fighting for the belt. I don't like the fact that he came in and talked all that crap about Ian Gary, getting an undeserved title fight, or Leon Edwards, excuse me, getting an undeserved title fight, and then having the performance that he did. Yeah, you know what? Did you break your foot? Maybe. And that I will completely understand if that's the case. But at the end of the day, I don't believe Colby. I don't believe him because of all the interviews he comes on and just caps. Now, I'm also sitting here on the other side of the coin and saying, like, I don't know if I have necessarily a right to be disappointed in Colby Covington because at the end of the day, he's looking out for what's best with his career. Why would he fight a big, up-and-coming, dangerous Ian Gary when Colby Covington can get a bunch of people talking about him no matter who he's fighting? If he wants to fight an easier fight like Charles Oliveira, why not fight Wonderboy Thompson? As Chael Sonnen said, you want the easiest fight for the most amount of pay. Colby Covington's just doing that, and I'm also sitting back here and saying, like, should I really criticize that? Yeah, maybe if you're looking at this sport from a glory aspect, if you really, really want to get back to the title, but I don't even know if that's why Colby Covington's fighting. He might just fight for money. He just might be loud because he accomplished his mission. He made the video about Ian Gary. He went viral. It was hilarious. It was great. Everybody was on the side of Colby Covington. And if that's the case, again, I don't really know if I should be criticizing it because not everybody is in the sport to get to the title. And maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't really know. The problem is everything about Colby Covington is an act. The point in me making this video is it's getting more difficult to support Colby Covington because of him constantly yapping, not backing it up, and having the performance that he did against Leon Edwards. And what really, really made me stop in my tracks was how honest the conversation he was having with the Twins Pod, and he was just completely dragging them. He was completely being very, very dishonest towards them. And I didn't like that. I didn't think it was nice. It was a very good environment, and he took that in. Any MMA fan watching that was like, wow, you're really being like that towards him, eh? I don't really like that. So, again, at the end of the day, I'll still be interested in what Colby does. And when I say that I'm a fan of him, I understand that I don't know the guy. I get it. Everything that he does is an act. It's more so when I say I'm a fan, I find Colby Covington extremely entertaining. And I can already tell the comments down below, like, wow, this guy's a Colby fan. I ask you that you just hear me out. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Check out the video on screen right now where we rank all of the MMA content creators. I will see you over there, guys. Take care.